Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and our world through the lens of the 21st century. Hi, welcome back to Modern Musings. I'm your hostess, Cindy Murray, and I am here with my co-hosts, Amber Garvin and
Heyo.
Kristen Hessler.
Hello.
Hey, I got your name right that time.
You did.
What a way. If you have not joined us before, if you're just the first time listener, welcome to the show. And we are a group of women who are kind of represented by the maiden, mother, and crone because we're in different stages of our lives. And we like to kind of talk about the differences and the sameness of being women in the 21st century. And we have a lot of things to talk about. If you are a frequent listener or this is a repeat listen, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. We really appreciate you listening, and we're hoping that you're going out there and commenting on the blog, reading the blog too and commenting there, or giving us that good thumbs up rating on the podcast. Give us some good ratings so that we can be in circulation a little more and get to some more listeners. So today we are here talking about weight loss. I am a chronic sufferer of weight loss. And the reason I say that, because it's like a disease. I feel like I'm always under this burden of weight loss. And I want to talk about some of the challenges of living with weight loss, because we are just constantly living with it. I want to get to a point where that is not the focus of my life anymore, where weight maintenance is the focus of my life, or normal weight, we can say. But right now I'm in the weight loss phase of my life, and I've been here for a long time, struggling with it day by day. And I want to kind of bring that out here and talk about it a little bit. I know a lot of you are probably dealing with that too. And it's such a hard thing. And, it really helps to get the support of each other and kind of get out there and talk about it and learn from each other. And I don't know. I have no idea where this conversation is going to go today, because I just know that I want to talk about this and I want to get out there and conquer this disease of obesity that is in my life right now. I am a diabetic, type 2, which is brought on by weight. I'm also a cancer survivor, which I've mentioned before on the podcast. I had a variation of breast cancer that is estrogen positive. And so estrogen positive cancers are often a byproduct of obesity and are aggravated by obesity. And so this is a battle that is very important to me, because I don't want my cancer to come back. I don't want the side effects of my diabetes to affect my life anymore. And I'm ready to live a more active life, and I can't do that at the weight I'm at. And so I think it's time to start talking about this a little more. And I've already been serious about weight loss, but I think I need to change my tactics, because what I've been doing has not worked for me so far. Recently, I had lost some weight, and I had a change in my medication, and it just sent me the opposite direction. So we're going to talk about some things that work. I know Kristen and Amber both have had the gastric sleeve surgery. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. And then we'll talk about, some non-surgical things that have worked and have not worked. So, who has something they'd like to lead off with?
Well, I guess I can lead off in a sense that I have had gastric sleeve surgery, and it did work really well for me up until a certain point. And then, when I was going through my divorce, I introduced bread back into my life, and I was losing weight. Things were going good, and then aside from all of that, I struggle. And we talked about mental health a couple of weeks ago. Yes. And one thing that I suffer from is binge eating disorder.
Okay.
And I have my whole life, and I'm not talking about like bulimia. I'm talking about, because bulimia is binging and purging.
Mm-hmm.
That's throwing up after. But binge eating disorder is just binge eating until you get so full that you pretty much
suffer
mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. you feel like you're going to die. And then you don't throw it up. You just gain weight, from binge eating and binge eting.
I have done this too. So yeah. I think probably a lot of us have.
Yeah. And so, so I have struggled with my weight and my mental health my whole
mm-hmm.
life. And, it's losing weight to me is about getting healthy. Both of my parents died from weight related issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ultimate reason that they died. Well, they were both diabetic also.
Okay.
But yes, and they had heart problems.
Which is often caused by the diabetes, yes.
Of course. And then, so ultimately they died because of their weight and that they didn't control their diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's in my family as well.
Yeah. So that's the reason that I was over, like after my dad died, my binge eating disorder went out of control. Mm-hmm. Like to the point where I would leave work and I would go and get like chili cheese fries, and I would go and park somewhere and secretly eat them and then go home and eat what my husband cooked for dinner. Mm-hmm. So it was a really bad thing. Like I would hide food so he wouldn't see me binge eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happened that started back up. I mean, I had it when I was a kid as well. Like I would hide food in my bedroom under my bed so my parents wouldn't see me and judge me. Mm-hmm. But that really came to a head after my dad died, and I ballooned. Like I gained so much weight that by the time a year later, my mom died, and I was over 400 pounds. Mm-hmm. I was big. I was talking to Kristen, and I was telling her, before my surgery, that if I put on pants standing up, my hip would pop out. Like it was bad. Like I could barely move. I could barely walk. I couldn't fit in my car. It was a very bad situation, and I won't even tell you what size clothes I wore, but I was to the point where I could hardly find clothes to wear. And so after seeing my parents die of those issues, the doctor frankly told me, he was like, "You're going to die. You need, mm-hmm. I strongly suggest weight loss surgery, and that'll help you get back on track." And it did. I lost 190 pounds.
That's amazing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And now I'm at the stage of where, when I going through my divorce, I started eating bread again. So I started gaining a little bit of weight. So I was maintaining at 190 pounds for a year. And I was the smallest, and I really haven't gained any clothing size, like maybe one clothing size back. and I'm still like wearing, and that's just around my middle, but now I'm struggling with trying not to gain it back. I'm struggling with maintaining and then getting past that 190-pound hump. Like I've gained about, I won't tell you how much I've gained back, but I have gained a little bit of weight back. So I'm not at 190-pound loss anymore. But right now I'm, with all the stress that's going on since my divorce and COVID and everything like that, I'm having a hard time losing what little I gained back and then losing even more, especially since I introduced bread back into my life.
I feel the same way. So I had the surgery like a year or 6 months or something before you, about a year.
Yeah, about a year, yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing great. And then right before COVID was when my husband and I moved in together, and his daughter moved in with us, and the food in my house changed completely. When I was just living with my brother post-surgery, my brother being a single man and I was a single woman, we're like, hey, let's rent a house together. And we could easily live on, he was fine eating the food that I ate, meat and vegetables, We didn't really have any bread. We had no snacks, no junk food. Like our idea of snacks was string cheese. And, we did really good with that. We did not have any sodas or cake, any of those like foods that mess up people's diets. And I did really good until I moved in with my now husband and daughter. She has her snacking needs and my husband has his snacking needs, and they are all different from mine. And so we, introduced new foods into my house, and I don't have the ability to restrain myself. So you're talking about, your battle with eating disorder. I have compulsive overeating disorder. So a lot like binging. Mine
Very
is
similar.
compulsory, so it's all day, all the time.
Like snacking, you like to snack.
I do. And I don't even realize half the time that I'm doing it. I just like am a zombie and I just wander, into the kitchen, and I've actually woke up in the middle of the night staring at the pantry. So, like sleepwalk in to find a snack, it's always on my mind, in my subconscious, like the snacking. And so that's something that I battle with. And so when there are snacks and things around that I can easily just start eating, I will. And that made that really challenging with new people in the house and new foods that were easily readily available. Like those little handy snack bag of chips, those are so dangerous. The little mini bags of chips.
Yeah.
Raina loves those. She likes to take them for school and she eats them for snacks, and they get purchased and they're there.
Yeah.
And then COVID followed right after that, and that's when my weight loss really came to a halt, because I was no longer packing a lunch and taking it with me, and that's all the food. Last week we were talking about like our morning routine and packing that specific meal that I consciously prepared ahead of time. When I was at home all day, I didn't do that. So I would just wander
walk
into
to the fridge. Yeah.
My break room was a fully stocked kitchen. So that's been a real struggle, is that fighting the compulsion to snack. And that has been probably like my biggest battle my entire life, I think, is just the snacking, portion control and being mindful when I'm eating. So that's what I'm battling right now with the new lifestyle. That's been on my forefront right now.
Right. I wanted to go back to some things that Amber was talking about with the binge eating. So I think and you guys have mentioned that your eating disorders started when you were much younger, and I I think I can recall when mine started, and I'm pretty sure it was about the time I hit high school. And I was always a very thin kid, but there was a lot of things going on in my life about junior high and high school. And I grew up in a not very supportive family. My relationship with my parents was not your typical relationship. And I won't go into too many details about my childhood, but I recall during those time periods being not having enough food to eat, and sometimes the food that was there to eat wasn't necessarily what you would call a meal. And so, I would eat a lot of things like rolled up balls of bread. We would take the white bread and pull the crust off of it and roll it in butter and sugar and eat that, because it was kind of satisfy a craving, for, it gives you a little endorphin rush or whatever it is, because it's sugar. It gives you that little high. But that's like all there was bread and butter to eat. And so, we tried to make it as fun to eat as we could. It might be a box of macaroni and cheese, and that was all we had to eat, or, little things like that. And I also remember, you're talking about binge eating and stuff, but my stuff has always been, like one of the things that my mother would keep Eagle brand in the pantry, and I would literally open that Eagle brand and just eat it by the spoonful. And a lot of people I know are going, "Oh my God, that stuff is so sweet." But I would just, I would crave that good feeling from eating that. It did. I was trying to fill that void inside my young, childish person,
Mine was icing. Like my mom always had like an icing, and I would sneak into the kitchen at night and take a spoonful of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then sometimes sneak back and take another spoonful of it.
And I would do things and then, go back onto the binging. There have been times in my life, you were talking about, sneaking off to go eat somewhere. I would go through the drive-thru at McDonald's, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to fillet a fish or a Big Mac, and I'd get one of each and eat that, and I'd like cram it down before I got home. This is an hour before dinner or whatever, and then
eat dinner,
and then I would eat dinner as well. So luckily, I've put a stop to most of those habits. I will say that every once in a while, I'll go out there and I'm tempted to have that something in secret that I don't want anybody else to know that I ate. But, it's a struggle. And my doctor is always on me about, have you stopped eating the fast food? And my answer is, I don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to.
It's like a response. Like the greasy fast food is like a response in your body. It gives you the satisfaction. You're just like,
Yes, every bite that I put in my mouth is like, oh, this tastes so good. And what I really want is a normal response to that food. My husband is not addicted to those kind of foods. I don't think. And, he can go without them for months on end and never want it. But me, I'm like, what can I have next? I want that. I want that again. I want that again.
I'm that way, but with sweets, like cakes and pies and bread sweets.
I do like some of those things, but I really, it's like the Taco Bueno burrito or the Big Mac or
it's the savory and the protein, high
and
caloric,
the fat, savory. Even the things that I snack on, I tend towards the more savory things, like a trail mix or a chip or I went on a thing for a long time where I ate Cheez-Its as my late night snack every night. And, you know, and you're talking about, polishing stuff off or whatever. I could sit down with a bag of chips and eat the whole bag of chips in one sitting and not bat an eye.
No,
Now,
yeah, definitely.
I really try not to let myself do that thing anymore, but that was where my weight started. It started with those bad habits of, when I was a senior in high school, my go-to lunch every day was a Coca-Cola and an August cherry fried pie. That's what I ate for lunch. And, it was cheap. I could afford it. I was going to cosmetology half a day, my junior and senior years of high school. So, I couldn't afford lunch elsewhere, and I wasn't at the high school to eat the school lunch. So I would stop and grab that on my way to my cosmetology classes. And, I could eat that in the car on the way, and it was terrible. I had a terrible diet. I didn't think it was bad for me at the time. I was thinking, oh, I'm not eating very much. It's not very much. I didn't eat very much, and I'm skinny. I was very skinny when I was that age. So even though I was binging on these things, and I also was not bulimic. I don't think I ever could make myself throw up, because that's something I just can't deal with at all. But I would binge it. But then, I just would starve. I would just not eat again. And I never ate breakfast. I would have this Coke and this cherry pie for lunch. And then I'd come home to dinner, and dinner at my house growing up was a serving of hamburger helper that's meant to feed 4 people, but it was divided out between 5 people, and my mother and father took the greater share. So, and it wasn't, and then maybe a can of vegetables split between us. So there wasn't a whole lot of food. And so I think that's, the poor nutrition was the only reason that I was so skinny. And then I was also in marching band and things like that. So, I was getting a little bit of exercise. And so it wasn't until I became an adult and started having children that I started gaining weight. But I was still maintaining those bad eating habits on top of the normal, cooking for my family eating habits. So, I never corrected those bad eating habits until I started having problems, really serious problems with my weight. And so now I'm diabetic, and I obviously can't eat the Cheez-Its or the can of Eagle brand or whatever it is, but I still crave those sweets and savories. And I've tried to find some, kind of keto versions of things that I can snack on and things like that. But I've really found that I'm better off if I don't snack at all, except for my late night snack. And I usually have some nuts or something like that. But if I just stick to my regular meals and then only have that evening snack, because if I snack during the day, it just makes me want to eat more.
Yeah. I remember when I had my surgery, my surgeon told me just to stick to the 3 meals and don't snack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I was like, never again.
Right.
So that's been the hardest part for me, is the in between the meals. And after dinner, if you eat dinner at 7:00, but you stay up until 3:00 in the morning every night, you kind of need to have a snack.
Yeah.
I feel like I get hungry again around 11:00.
Well, and
I still have 4 hours to go,
I have to snack because of my diabetes. I eat breakfast when I wake up. I have lunch, 4 to 6 hours later or whatever. And then I have dinner, usually around 7 p.m., 7:30. But I too stay up really late at night. And so there's a long number of hours there, 6, 7. That's a long time to go without food. And if I don't have a snack, my blood sugars start dropping, and I don't, and then they start bouncing around, So by having that little snack, it kind of tides me over and keeps me more level throughout the night. But yeah, it's really hard to. I'm also a grazer. So if the food is out, if it's there,
Yes.
and this has been a problem that we had when we first started doing this podcast. We started out with some, in our recording studio, we'd have like a little charcuterie set out, and that would be our dinner. So we were trying to keep it healthy. Meats and cheeses and, a little bit of vegetables, or whatever.
We tended to eat on it all
night long.
Whenever we would record our podcast.
Yeah, we would be eating all night long. We'd record do a little bit of recording, and then we'd get up and go eat some more, and then we'd do a little recording and get up and eat some more. It was in front of us, and we just, as we're recording, we're just eating the whole time, and yeah, that's not good at all. And we'd have a meeting, and we would sit with food in front of us while we're as part of our meeting, and we would sit and eat and eat and eat.
I think that for all of us, because food has always been such a prevalent part of our day-to-day life, because it's a part of our mental health that we battle with, that we're always planning everything around our meals and stuff.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Every
I feel
time.
like if I could just plan something and not include food in it, so that it would be planned, like, and not have a snack or something, like, oh, I need to have a snack during this meeting. Who's bringing the snack?
Right.
If I can, plan some things without feeling like I need to do that, then my life would be a lot easier. I probably would lose weight a lot faster.
Right.
If I didn't have those temptations, like
Maybe meat over coffee and not lunch.
I think that's those little things to consider whenever you're trying to lose weight is, how can I change the way I think so that I change
It's
the
a true
behavior?
lifestyle
'Cause you can't
behavior
just change
change.
the behavior. You have to change the way you think first.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. I was doing, and still am doing, but I'm not really actively doing it. At my doctor's suggestion, I subscribed to Noom, and it has a lot of lessons and things like that. And they talk about mindful eating and not, changing. It's all about changing the way you think about food and your relationships to food. And I do think that is a big part of it. I know that when I quit smoking 15 years, has it been 15 years since I quit smoking?
Well, has
Yes,
it really been that long?
It has. But I learned a lot of things about myself in that process that I really felt like I could apply to losing weight. But the problem is that when you stop smoking, you can remove yourself from that situation. You can stay away from smokers. You can not have cigarettes or tobacco in your home. You can just quit smoking, and then you can rewire your brain to not think about it. But the problem with food,
You can't quit eating.
you cannot quit eating. And so you can't ever remove that relationship with your food. You just have to change the relationship with your food. And that has been the greatest struggle for me, I think. I used to have a friend that, she was a coworker, and she was always like, food is for nutrition. Food is not for pleasure. Food is for nutrition. And she was skinny as a rail. very healthy. And that was always her thing, is that food is for nutrition. Food is not for entertainment. Food is not for pleasure. And then, my argument with her was always, but God gave me taste buds. Why do I have taste buds if it's not to enjoy the pleasure of that food? And, unfortunately, I think I have an addictive personality to that food. And I don't think I have an addictive personality to other things, because I can gamble and stop. I quit smoking. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but food is an addiction that I cannot, to this day, control. And that is something I really want to do. And unlike other addictions, I can't just eliminate it from my life. So it's really challenging for me. And I've tried a lot of different things. I've tried not an Atkins diet, but I did like slim fast for lunch and breakfast, and then ate dinner at night. And that didn't work because it interfered with this or that. And, all of those things, none of those things really worked, because they're not sustainable. And that's the thing. You have to find something that is sustainable. I like the idea of the bariatric surgery because it does control your portion size. There are some kind of ugly consequences if you don't. And so, but at the same time,
it's not an end all be all.
It is not.
It's a tool to help you lose weight.
It is just a tool.
But it's not like, if you step out of that, then you gain your weight back. You're just going to
go right back to where you were.
You expand your stomach out and, it'll help you control your portion size. And then, like you said, bad consequences. But you have to stick with the portion size. Like if you
just like any other diet.
If you eat more and you eat more and you eat more, then your stomach will slowly stretch out again to where you can. And, that's like the hardest thing ever for a binge eater. And I want to tell you that surgery did not cure my binge eating.
Right.
I just binge eat on a smaller scale. And I have to be very careful in the sense that, like, I can't make too much food or buy too much food or
because
even
you'll
have
want to eat
snack food in my house, because if there's snack food that I can eat in my house, I will think about that food. Or if I'm sitting at the dinner table and say, like, I order something at a restaurant, if I don't get it in a to-go box or like half it out or something, I will sit there and I will eat on that food until I get sick.
Well, and that's a good point about the restaurants too, because restaurant food is usually
very bad.
Well, it's very bad. It has a lot of sodium. It has a lot of fat. It has a lot of carbs. They often add sugar to things. And then the portion sizes are twice what you should be eating in a meal. And so a lot of people order it and then they eat the whole thing. We've all been taught that clean your plate thing, when we were kids, or starving children in China or whatever it is. And so we're guilted into eating everything on our plate because you can't waste that food. And so then we're eating twice as much food as we want. And I want to say to the bariatric thing, a lot of people say, well, they took the easy way out. I have watched 4 different people that I know that are good friends of mine go through this surgery. If you think that's the easy way out, you have no idea what they've had to go through.
It's the hardest thing I ever did in my life.
Absolutely.
It is not the easy way out. And it is a hard way out. It's just, and like you said, it's just a tool to help you.
Especially,
just like
tool.
Somebody who quit smoking using the patch or whatever, it's just or loses weight using diet pills. That's not an easy way out either. You still have to control your eating. And so it's
the
there
hardest
is
thing.
no easy way out.
No easy way. And it's the hardest. And if you're a binge eater like me, it's the hardest thing in the world, because that's one of my coping mechanisms. And I did it right after my mom died, like a few months. And they say don't do it when you're going through an emotional thing. But I did it just a few months after my mom died. And, well, I had started the process when she was still alive, but I went through the surgery a few months after she died, and, it was the most struggling thing in the world, because all I wanted to do was eat, and I literally sewed my stomach and mouth shut, and I couldn't eat, and I would lay in bed for hours and cry because I couldn't eat, because that was a coping mechanism, and I was still coping with my mom's death.
Yeah.
Whenever I had my surgery, Travis and I had just, actually pre-surgery, Travis and I were dating. So every time we went on a date, it was me like drinking water on the date. or
your
decaf
pre-surgery
coffee.
diet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
because
that brings-
I couldn't even have like caffeine. Or,
Yeah.
I was drinking decaf coffee, and we'd have a coffee date, and I'd get decaf coffee somewhere, or water, or I would bring my own protein shake and consume that, at our date. We'd go to a restaurant, and I wouldn't get to eat anything on the date. And, for someone meeting someone and trying to get to know them, that might seem kind of awkward. If you didn't really know a whole lot about that person, I imagine, him, his perspective of that was probably abnormal. But, he's been with me this whole time, kind of by my side, and it was good for him to be able to be on both parts of the before and after, because he, knows what my restrictions are and what my needs are. So it's good to have that support.
Well, you're talking about
Definitely tough.
go ahead.
Keep going. Oh, I was just gonna say it's definitely tough dating after bariatric surgery. Like whenever I met my current boyfriend, Jason, like on our first date, I barely ate. And when, like, I definitely can't eat rice, and he ordered sushi for us to share, and I'm like, oh, do I tell him? It's our first date. Do I tell him about the surgery and I can't eat sushi, or whatever?
Yeah. Well, and that, that both of those situations bring up something that has been a struggle for me all along. Being in a relationship and having other people in your home that you're responsible for feeding, and their needs and desires being different than your own. And when I was a young mother and trying to lose weight, I was trying to, make different food for myself than my family, because my family did not want to eat the food that I needed to eat to lose the weight. And my spouse, my husband, Mark, was, I didn't want to watch them eat things I couldn't have. And I didn't want to restrict what they had just because it was something
you put yourself in a dilemma.
Yes,
yeah.
I was between a rock and a hard place. And Mark was not comfortable with me not sitting at the table with them eating. And it really, there were some sabotaging behaviors there, I think, on his part as well. And then some self-sabotaging behaviors on my part, because I didn't want to be in that situation. But it's really difficult for me because my husband is not on a restricted diet. and he wants to eat chips with his sandwich, and he wants to have pizza night, and he wants to eat spaghetti, and he wants to have Chinese food. And all of those things are full of sugars and full of carbs and full of fat, and they're things that I really can't eat, and I don't think it's right. You know, a lot of times that's the instructions that they give you: remove all of the tempting foods from your house. Well, I can't do that. My husband eats cookies. My children had snacks after school. I'm not going to keep them from eating them.
Right.
They had sugary cereals and
Raina's
things.
favorite thing to eat for breakfast is Cheerios. I'm not going to but that's also my number one tempting food.
Oh, yeah. I love cereal.
my
I love
gosh.
having a bowl of cereal.
I
And that
miss
has
cereal.
been my
I haven't
struggle.
had cereal in years.
I eat it, and that's probably why I'm struggling, because I have a special little tiny bowl that I eat my cereal out of. I restrict myself to this little tiny cereal, but I'm eating it, and I shouldn't. And so that's why I try to buy the little mini chip bags and say those are Raina's. I don't eat the little mini chip bags,
But I had in my house, I've had lots of
feel
other
you.
people
I don't want to take away from their
what they want to eat, right?
Yeah.
And so then it becomes a struggle, because there's things in the house that I can't eat, and I have to look at them every day. I will say, though, that it has made me, if I do keep resisting those things, then I become immune to them. I will say that for the most part. There are things, my husband keeps cookies in the fridge or in the pantry all the time, and I am not tempted at all to go eat those cookies. But I mean, there are some other things that I will go eat, but I'm not tempted to eat those cookies. So, and that might have been a temptation before, but it's not now. There are still some things, though, that I just can't have in the house because I will eat them. The Cheez-Its is one of them. I would literally sit and eat that box of Cheez-Its if it was in front of me. Certain kinds of potato chips, if there's there, I could sit and eat the whole bag if I let myself. Now, I've gotten a lot better at not doing it, but that doesn't mean that temptation isn't still there. But it's, I don't know. I'm having a lot of different kinds of struggles now too, because, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I started changing my diet a lot, and I removed a lot of the heavy carbs and the breads and the cereals and the pastas and things like that, and went for whole grain, brown rice and things like that, and trying to get most of my carbs from my vegetables and more healthy sources, and actually limiting the number of those as well. And I've done well, and then I'll kind of fall off the wagon a little bit, and back and forth. And I was actually losing weight. I was getting down. It was a very slow process, but I was losing weight. And then I had a change in medication. And since that change in medication was in July, and I actually gained 30 pounds from July to January, and due in part to that medication change, and without any real changes to my diet. And so that is a real struggle for me right now, because I'm retaining a lot of water. I've got a lot of edema in my legs, and that actually adds to my weight. And I'm, 30 pounds over what I was before. So now I'm just struggling with that and trying to figure out what can I do, to get back on track. And it's very, very frustrating. So without cutting my diet, cutting the calories down even further, I'm not, I will say I'm not exercising like I was when COVID started and my mother moved in and there's all these people in the house and all these things going on all the time. My exercise just went out the window. I have very little physical exercise right now. And with the extra weight, it makes it less comfortable to exercise. So I'm less inclined to exercise.
The catch-22 of
it is.
The best way to lose weight is to exercise and eat healthy. And the hardest part about exercising when you're overweight is that it's nearly impossible. Sometimes it feels
it's really
very uncomfortable,
really
and it's very discouraging. It makes you not want to exercise. Yeah, I agree.
That's always been my struggle, is like that motivation to actually do the exercise. And then the second part is just the exercise itself. Certain exercises are just hard to do. Like I'm like not physically capable because of certain parts of my body are not in the right shape.
Right. Right.
And then just the general fatigue afterwards, because I feel like I'm a lot more tired than I should be because of my weight.
Right.
Afterwards, that it just really takes me back. I need extra rest after I exercise, I think.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's really hard to make myself exercise by myself. I do much better when I have a partner to exercise with. And I'm always trying to find somebody reliable to be my exercise partner. And it just doesn't ever seem to hold. The people who are already inclined to exercise are already more physically fit than me, and so I can't keep up with them, or they already have their own routine, and I don't fit into that
lifestyle time frame,
and I've had friends that did exercise with me, and it really did help me be more motivated to go do it, because I knew they were counting on me to go with them to the jazzercise, or they were counting on me to go walk with them. But the minute that they lose interest or drop out or whatever, then I'm no longer motivated either. So it doesn't last very long.
I understand that, and I absolutely refuse to go to the gym by myself, especially unless it's like really late before it closes or really early in the morning, because I don't know. I feel like people are looking at me weird.
Well, I don't even it's not even that for me. I'm just I'm a socially motivated person, it comes back down to and I'm always bringing up Eckhart Tolle, but I read the book. I know I swear it always comes up, but I read the book, and then I'm compelled to share it. So every time I find something that works with me, I feel the need to share it. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I write the blog. I feel compelled to share the things that work for me. I subscribe to the HelloFresh, and then I'm always giving away, here's a free week of HelloFresh. Here's a free week. I do that with my exercise too. When I find an exercise I enjoy, I want to share it. And I just feel more motivated if I have someone to do it with. I don't do a lot of things by myself. And I probably should learn to do that, but I just don't. I like to do things with other people. And so it's harder to make myself get up and go do a bunch of sit-ups, when just by myself. It's not fun. And going to jazzercise by myself is not fun.
I can definitely see that as like a fitness class or something like that. I don't think I could do that by myself. Now, as I don't know, like walking or something like that. I'm fine doing it by myself.
Yeah, I do.
Like,
I do walk by myself, but I just have not. I don't know. I like to do it by myself, and I like to do it with other people. I like to kind of switch out with that one. I do like to walk by myself because I can have my headphones on, and listen to music that motivates me, and I don't have to worry about talking or anything. I can just kind of be in my head. But at the same time, I have to have a partner that motivates me. We don't have to walk together, but the fact that we're walking at the same time, or that we're both walking and we're, comparing our notes. Did you walk today? I walked today. Did you walk today?
an accountability
It's an
buddy.
accountability,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that's always nice to have.
I have a friend who used to have a weight loss clinic, and she talked a lot about that having accountability with your weight loss is a big deal. And I've heard lots of weight loss coaches talk about that. That's why they have you come into Weight Watchers to weigh in, because that's your accountability.
I was going to mention Weight Watchers, that the one time that I was able to lose weight on like Weight Watchers isn't really a fad diet, but like so a program such as that was Weight Watchers, because it was kind of like the accountability. They make you come in and weigh, and like it was kind of like a shame if you gained weight.
Right.
You on your weekly weigh, and then you had like a punch card, and they printed out your weight and they stuck it on the card, and it was like if you gained weight, it was just like, oh no,
A blight on your card.
It was like, no, I can't gain weight. Must.
Well, at the same time, though, I don't like that. I don't like that shaming. I don't think there should be any guilt in.
I still found a way to beat the system with that.
Yeah.
I would the day of my weigh-in, after Weight Watchers, I would go and do my binge eating, like go to a buffet or something like that, binge eat for like 2 days, and then I got back on the Weight Watchers diet and like pretty much starved myself for like the next several days so I would lose weight.
That's
so
that yo-yo dieting thing.
Yeah, I still found a way to beat the system and continue my binge
Right.
eating.
You're talking about the feeling the guilt, and that was one of the things that I learned with Noom, is that there shouldn't be any guilt. If you fall off the wagon, you should have allowances for falling off the wagon, so to speak. And one of the things that we talked about was, allowing yourself to have those cheats or whatever it is, have it built into your thing, because nothing should ever be absolute. You should never say, oh, you can never have donuts ever again, So
Yeah, because then you want donuts.
it actually makes you want the donuts.
If you say, no, you can never eat bread ever again, then it's like, bread.
And I
want bread.
That was one of the things I struggled with my diabetes diet at first, because technically the diabetes diet is, you're not supposed to be eating that stuff. Don't eat that donut. Go have whatever, but it's really hard to do that. And the more I told myself I couldn't have those things, the more deprived of those things I felt. And then the more deprived I felt, the more I wanted them. And that just made it harder and harder to resist. So with the Noom thing, one of the things that it did was let yourself have that thing, not, but you have to set some rules around it. So one of the things that I love, and it's really terrible, is Krispy Kreme donuts when they're fresh off the fryer. They come around that little conveyor belt, and you walk in that store, or you go through the drive-through window, and they open it up, and you can just smell that hot sugar. And you put those donuts in your mouth, and this is a terrible thing for somebody trying to lose weight, but you put that donut in your mouth, and it literally melts in your mouth like cotton candy. And it's only when they're hot, and fresh right off the fryer. So and when the little red light comes on, and they're hot and fresh. So they built this Krispy Kreme right down the road from me right after I went on my diabetes diet. And
I
I'm
was going to mention it doesn't help that you live down the street from a
right,
Krispy Kreme.
It was really bad. And you can smell that
how
stuff.
rude.
You can smell those donuts in the air when you drive by. And so it was like really, really bad. And so, that was one of the things I set up with my Noom diet was that it's okay to stop and have that Krispy Kreme donut when the light is on. If I'm driving by and I have time to stop and I really want that donut, it is okay to stop and have that donut. But I'm only going to have one donut. And only if I really, really, really want it. And so now when I drive by, I will guarantee you 99% of the time I drive by that Krispy Kreme and that light, if that light is on, I look at it and I go, I'm kind of in a hurry. I'm just going to keep going. But I know that I could eat it if I wanted to. I really could eat that donut if I wanted it. But I just keep going. And, once in a while I will go, I got a few minutes extra. And that donut sounds really good. I haven't had breakfast. It's a while till lunch. Or I had breakfast a long time ago and it's a while till lunch. I think I'm going to have that Krispy Kreme donut. And I will drive through and I'll get one donut. And I pull over to the side of the road. I'm not eating it fast. I take little bites and I savor that donut and enjoy that donut in the moment, in the now. Thanks. And Emmer's laughing here. And and I enjoy it.
To you describe this donut, and it's making me really want a donut.
I know, I'm like, you're not helping. This is not helping.
Yeah,
But
man.
the thing is that
Krispy Kreme used to be 24 hours.
I really,
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, they did, yeah. But I can enjoy it. But 99% of the time, I just drive right on by, and I have no desire to have that donut. And I can't tell you when. Probably the last time that Kristen brought donuts to the house was the last time I had a donut. That's been months ago. Oh, Christmas. We had donuts at Christmas because she stopped with Raina and brought donuts. And before that, it was probably another 3 to 6 months ago that I had a donut. And I don't miss the donuts because I know that I can have the donut if I want it. Now, if I could just do that with the fast food burritos, I'd be a whole lot better off.
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, so here we go. I want to move on with this topic a little bit further, just a little bit before we close, because this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. That's one that a lot of people struggle with because there's the family backyard barbecue. There's a spread there that people have laid out of, the little smorgasbord or whatever, barbecue, whatever you have there. Sometimes we imbibe a little bit, alcohol lowers our inhibitions and makes us more likely to eat as well as drink more. Do we have any tips there for dealing with those kind of situations where you're going to be there, that food is there? What are some of the tips that you think you have for somebody that's faced with that?
Pick one thing on that spread to say no to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Take a good look at it and decide what that one thing is and say no. So if it's like the 3-layer cake or whatever,
or the potato salad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or the chips. I mean, some people do like barbecue and then a whole bunch of bags of chips, and those open bag of chips at a party are dangerous because you just keep filling them up on your little paper plate.
And you don't realize how many you've eaten. Yeah. That's a good point.
If you're trying to do low carb, then don't eat the bun. Yeah, don't do the bread.
Yeah.
Don't do the bread and chips. Just do the meat and
I've done that a lot. The
vegetable tray.
The barbecue, you could still have the barbecue sandwich without the bun. I'll put the onions and the pickles out, and put the barbecue there and eat that. And equally same thing with the hamburger. You can put the lettuce out and the
or open
tomatoes.
face and just do one
or
piece of it.
only eat one piece of bread. Another chip that I have heard a lot is if you know it's going to be food that you probably shouldn't eat something healthy before you go.
Or bring your own food.
Yeah.
Or if it's something where you have the option to bring food, pick something that you really enjoy that's a healthier option to share. If it's like a potluck or something.
Yeah, especially with like desserts, because sometimes the desserts are the thing that get you too. Somebody made that homemade ice cream or a pie or whatever. Think about a low carb or a low fat or a low calorie option there.
Sugar free.
Because you might not be the only person there that is on that diet, or I don't like that word, being on a diet, but you won't be the only person that's conscious about what they're trying to eat.
At work potlucks, I always bring either a fruit tray or a vegetable tray because I know I can eat that.
Well, that's a good point too.
And I will stick to that if nobody else brings something, like if it's all cupcakes or whatever, there's at least a fruit tray.
Yeah. And remember, if you do decide to eat something that's not exactly on your diet plan,
it's just one day.
It's one day.
Don't feel guilty about it.
Don't guilt yourself. Just pick up and start over again with the next meal.
Yeah, each day is a new day, and that's definitely one thing to think about if you're trying to lose weight. That if you mess up one day, you can always start over the next.
Right.
I think that's one
and
thing.
it shouldn't be an excuse to continue eating that bad thing either.
When
so
people talk about falling off the wagon doesn't drive off and leave you there. The wagon, when you fall off the wagon, it's right there waiting for you to get back on.
Just climb back on. Yep.
Yeah, and start over tomorrow. If you did that one mess up, then don't be like, well, now I can eat that again. Just start over tomorrow. But don't really restrict yourself like Cindy was saying with the donut. Don't say, no, I can never have this ever again. Reward yourself, and that's a good tip and trick right there, is reward. Like right now, my reward for continuing, because I recently started going to the gym again, and my reward, that if I can lose that weight that I gained, I'm going to get a new tattoo. And that's my reward, and I really want that tattoo.
Yeah, but don't reward yourself with food.
No, I'm not going to reward it with food. I'm going to reward it with a tattoo.
Right. That's the trick. You can't let food be a monetary system or an emotional.
Yeah. And another thing, you're talking about the have that. If you really, really, really want that piece of cake, have a little tiny piece of the cake and be satisfied with that little bit of cake, but don't use eating one bite of cake as an excuse to go eat the rest of the cake, or the rest, have ice cream with the cake, or have the cake and the pie, or just be happy with that little bit. Yeah, don't go all out. Because every time that you put food in your mouth, you have the choice to eat something good, and I don't want to use good or bad, but you have the choice of what you are eating, and you don't, just because you ate something that wasn't in the plan doesn't mean you have to keep eating the thing that's not in the plan. So, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up today. You guys be safe out there for Memorial Day. Drink responsibly, please. And we'll see you next week. Why did I say that? It's all your fault.
Yes, we will see you next week.
But thanks to Red Door Studios. and creative audio tech for our audio and the great theme music and equipment. And next week up on the podcast, who is after me? That is Amber.
Yes, we're going to be talking about astrology and sun signs next week. So tune in and listen to our podcast about astrology and sun signs, and bring maybe chat with us and bring your own thoughts on that.
Yeah. And so if you have any tips for weight loss or getting through the Memorial Day weekend with a little bit better control of your eating habits, come on over and share them on our Facebook chat group, MMC Chat. And you can also find more content on the blog at modernmusings.net. And we'll talk to you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.